Hi, welcome to Testing with RK. In this session we will be discussing about typecasting. Typecasting is when you assign a value of one data type to another. There are two types of typecasting in C#. The first one is implicit casting. This is basically converting a smaller number to a larger type. We will see this in example. Basically what it means is that if I have a variable which is of type double, and that variable is being passed with a value of an integer, it will hold it. It will automatically convert it and hold it, and we will see through with an example. So let's say int my int 100. Yep. Int double. So I have declared the variable but not defined it yet. When I do that, my double is equals to my int. Basically what I'm saying at this point is that my double is of type double, which means double is a data type which can hold fractional values. Over here we have defined a variable called my double, and we are passing the value which is in my int, but my int is 100, which is an integer value. Because this double variable is large, it can hold a larger value. What it does is it implicitly converts those values. So if we print that, my double, build and run, and you would see it has printed the value of 100. Now let's try to do the same thing but the other way around. Let's say we have a double value called 100.99, and instead of that, what we're trying to do is my int is equals to my double, and you would see straight away there's an error. Cannot implicitly convert double to int. So looking back here, an implicit conversion happens if your variable can hold a larger data. So if I have a variable of type float, it can hold any of these values. If I have double, it can hold any of these values. So the larger data type can hold the smaller data type, and it happens implicitly. The other one we have is the explicit conversion. Explicit conversion is where we are manually converting it. Why do you want to do that? Think of a scenario where you are running your automated test script and you have this fractional value whereby you do not care about the fractional part, but you care about the whole part. So for example, on your screen you see this value 101.98, but you are only interested in the whole 101. What you can do is at that part you can convert it into an integer. You can explicitly do the casting and take the whole number out of it, and we will see how we can do. Basically that's when you want to convert a double and fit into any of these variables or float into any of these variables. Let's see through the example. In this scenario right now here, my int is 100, double my double is 10.99, my int and my double. You would see because it's a larger data type, it implicitly cannot do it. One way of casting it would be to say what kind of data type do you want to cast into. By telling this my double that you want to cast into integer value, the value will go in here. Question is what will be printed now, as we discussed earlier. So if, for example, if I do not assign any value, we said that if we are converting an integer, what it will do is that it will remove the fractional part and it will keep the whole number. So build and run. Sorry, it printed my the wrong one because we are printing my double, and what we want to print is integer. Okay, no problem. So we want to print my int to see the value. Okay, save, build, and run, and then you could see it is printing my int 100. We do have other variables. We can, in fact, let's do the conversion for the other types as well. So for example, so that was double to integer. What if you want to convert from integer or double to string type? Why, you may ask me why I want to do that. At times it may happen that whatever value you have in your variables, say for example you have a value of 1005, we may want to print it simply like a string in a console or an output window. Maybe we don't want to print it as an integer value. So if I say I want to convert this particular number, my int, to, or my double, into string, how do we do that? I can say string my string equals to, and for string we do have a special methods which I will discuss, my double dot, and the moment you do that, by default you will see, because I am trying to do the string operation, it will say to string. And if you look at the help method, what it says is converts the numeric value of an instance to its equivalent string representation. So if I do that, what it's doing now is that my string is actually holding a value of 100.99. So my string okay, so save, build, and then when you run it, you would say my string is holding 100.99. Please note that at this point, if I try to add so if I have another string 2 hello, and if I have my string plus my string 2, I want you to guess what would be the output for this one. Okay, so basically what we have done is we have value in my string, and then we have another value in my string 2. We are just basically adding it, and we want to see what will be the output of it, and that should be output 100.99 and hello, because the 100.99 is basically a string value. One important thing that I would like to bring to your notice is that let's have an example. Let's try to understand with an example. Integer x is equals to 100 and string y is equals to 20. I want you to guess what will be the output of this. So x has value 100, y has value of 20. So let's build that, and then run it, and you would notice the value is not 120, but it is 100 and 10020. The reason is that if you add anything to a string, it will become a string. So if I add a double value to a string, it will become a string. It will not be added into that as a double value. So the explicit casting can be done with the help of data type like that, or we do have something called conversion methods. Conversion methods can perform the casting as well. So int my into let's say my int will hold the double values, so my int and double 2 is equals to okay, so my int 2 is equals to, there's a method called convert. These are the methods that are responsible for conversion. Convert dot, and you specify what do you want to convert it to. The integer that is being defined here is by default excuse me, that by default is integer 32-bit. So we'll go for that. In 32 I want to convert it into int 32, and then I have to provide it with the value. Okay, so let's print that one. My double 2, save, and then when I run it, my int 2 is 13458. Oh, that's because I printed my double, which is wrong. I need my int 2. That's the second time I've done it, sorry. So save, run, and then you would see it is holding the value 135, and you may wonder that, oh, hang on, so what happened? If you notice that from the previous version where we were using my double int and 0.99, it actually truncated the value and it picked up the 100. It didn't care about rounding off. Whereas the conversion methods, what it does is that it actually converts it to and converts and rounds it off to the nearest whole number. Now because 134.58 is close to 135, it has converted into 135. So these are the scenarios where your application, so for example, you have a scenario where in your application you never get a fractional value. The currency that is being displayed, it is always rounded off to the nearest integer. In that case, what you can do is you can use the conversion method to check the value and then compare it and verify if the value being printed is correct or not. Conversion methods by default will go for the rounding off. So let me give you an example quickly, another example here. So if I was to say this is 48, save and then print, run, it will go for 134 because that's the nearest whole number for it. Okay, so quick recap. We in C# we have two types of casting. Casting basically happens when you are trying to assign a value of one data type to the other data type. We have an implicit casting, which is done by C# automatically by C#, and in the implicit casting, a variable of bigger data type can hold a value of smaller data type. Then we talked about explicit casting. Explicit casting simply truncates the value, it does not rounds it off. And then we talked about a conversion method which rounds off as well. There's another one that I want to bring to your notice, is that there are some operations that you cannot do. So you may ask me a question that what happens if you are converting a string to a number. So for example, if I was to say string text is equals to hello, and I say int new number is equals to convert to int and then text, and then followed by new number. I want you to think what will be the output of this one. Hello is a string and we are trying it to convert into a number, and obviously it doesn't look anywhere close to a number. And when I print it, let's see what happens. There we go, error. When I try to run, it says input string was not in correct format. Obviously there will be a time when there are things that you cannot perform, so string cannot be converted into. And if you look at it here, if you go to the definition of it, parameter, it says the value is that converts a value of specific so and so. It doesn't say what value here. Basically what I am trying to say is, my point is that when you're converting, you have to ask yourself what you're converting, and if it is right. Hello, converting hello to an integer is obviously looks like an illegal operation, but whereas converting decimal fraction to integer or integer value to decimal, so if you were to convert x to a double, so for example, that would be valid. So keep asking that question and keep practicing this. Thank you very much. That's it for this video, and we will see you again all in the next video. Thank you very much.